Carolyn Paris, and on behalf of the Callaway Bank here in Columbia, Missouri, it is a great pleasure to introduce such a strong, entrepreneurial, bright woman in Lauren Rundquist with Untitled. As you will hear from her today, she is a dynamo. She actually was the 2013 winner of the #Boom competition. So she was the winner last year. And when she shared her story, she actually started her company with less than $100. And within that first year, doing it part-time as a full-time student, doing her business part-time, she made over $20,000. So it's very invigorating to be around that kind of energy. And currently she said her business takes up, I think she said, a 2-by-3 square foot space in her home. So it is my pleasure, on behalf of everyone in this room, we'd like to bring Lauren Rundquist with Untitled to the stage. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm Lauren, founder of Rundquist, a global business and brand that creates unique pieces of wearable art in the form of custom hand-painted shoes with customers across 6 continents. My entrepreneurial journey begins when I was 9 years old and I made little beaded bookmarks to sell to raise money for the American Cancer Society. Every year after that, I would choose a different charitable organization close to my heart and a different little handmade trinket I could make to raise money. I'm sure I had never heard the term entrepreneur at the time, and I didn't consider my little ventures to be a tiny form of business. But little did I know, I had begun to form the goals that would stay with me through my entrepreneurial journey till today. Those goals are to use my artistic ability in a meaningful way, to give back, and to connect with others. Those 3 goals sparked the process to what Rundquist is today and have shaped every decision I've made along the way. High school is when I started my first, what I would officially consider a business. I used to love making my own pieces of beaded bracelets, earrings, and rings, and one day my friends began requesting pieces for themselves. On a whim, I took my jewelry to a local boutique and showed it to the owner, and much to my surprise, she placed an order on the spot. Over the next few months, I went door to door to different stores, and pretty soon, my jewelry was on the shelves of boutiques throughout St. Louis and Columbia. I didn't realize at the time that that was a business, but it sparked the process to what Rundquist is today. So, when I was a junior in high school, when I was a freshman in college, I realized that art had been a significant part of my life. It's something that has given me confidence from the time I was little. It's inspired me to challenge myself and step outside of my comfort zone. That's something that I wish for all children to be able to experience. So I started the Creativation Project, a charitable organization with a mission to inspire children to creatively and confidently strive for success through art. My idea was that myself and a group of volunteers would visit local youth organizations with a spark or an open-ended art project with components of education, creativity, and fun. My hope was that we would act as positive role models for the young artists, inspiring them to possess the qualities of creativation, a word I invented meaning creativity, inspiration, imagination without innovation. Now, I really had no clue how to make this idea a reality, so I just jumped right in the best I could. And that's when I first began to discover the power of this social era we're living in, as some like to call it. I created a Facebook page and was able to collect hundreds of dollars worth of donated art supplies to get the idea off the ground. I recruited a group of volunteers, all college students, with a similar passion for art. I reached out to various youth organizations, and within a few weeks, the Creativation Project was up and running, going on regular visits around Columbia. The Creativation Project can best be described with a quote by Arthur Ashe: "Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can." Recently, I spoke to a group of high school students in Junior Leadership Columbia about how that quote can apply to any entrepreneurial, charitable, etc. venture that they try to pursue, and how that quote applies to Rundquist, the next step on my journey. I started Rundquist as a sophomore in college with the 3 goals I mentioned earlier as my focus: to use my artistic ability in a meaningful way, to give back, and to connect with others. Again, I wasn't sure how to make this idea a reality, but I knew I could apply the quote: start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. So the first part, start where you are. I started as a college sophomore, lacking several what some might consider important things. Time, space. As a journalism student, I lacked a formal business education. And finally, and this one may come as a bit of a shock, I lacked a plan. Although it may sound crazy, the lack of a specific plan actually ended up being one of the biggest things working in my favor. Without one, I was able to let Rundquist shape and change organically, and I could grow as an entrepreneur along with it. So the next part of the quote, use what you have. I had my list of goals that I mentioned earlier. Besides that, like every other college student, I had access to social media. The first thing I knew I had to do was actually start painting shoes and building my portfolio of work so I could demonstrate to customers what I was capable of. So I posted to Facebook offering to paint a pair of custom shoes for free if someone was willing to provide the base pair of shoes to be painted. Surprisingly, I had more than a few takers, enough to begin building my portfolio of work. The next thing I had was a bit of internet savviness, which luckily for me was the best way to reach my customers. I opened an online boutique on the marketplace Etsy, and that's where Rundquist began to take shape. As I painted shoes and photographed my work, I could gradually increase prices on my products. Then, by starting a Rundquist blog and Facebook page, I could generate buzz around my business. As you might have noticed, the things I had at my disposal didn't require any money, which, as I mentioned earlier, I was lacking in that department. In fact, Rundquist only required an initial investment of less than $100. If you were to come take a tour of Rundquist today, you'd be rummaging through a 56-quart plastic bin in my bedroom that houses everything Rundquist requires to operate. So the next part of that quote, do what you can. Clearly, I hadn't spent a ton of time figuring out the logistics of running an online store before jumping right in, and my customers could probably tell that at first, but much to my surprise, that was okay with them, and not only that, they were happy to be a part of it. One of my first orders came from a deployed US airman named Michael. He was hoping to surprise his fiancée back in the US, Bethany, with a pair of American flag shoes for Valentine's Day. We talked about all the little details, like that he wanted them to look distressed rather than crisp and perfect. Soon after sending them off, I received a thank you note from Michael, along with screenshots of Bethany opening her special gift via Skype. A few months later, I was contacted by Bethany this time, who was looking to surprise Michael. She wanted a pair of shoes to wear with her dress on her wedding day. So I created a pair of shoes replicating the lace detail on her gown, complete with her new last name and the colors of the Air Force. Another memorable order came from a recently retired professor named Sue. She was setting off to spend her summer in Italy, living out her lifelong dream of spending time with her distant relatives. She was looking for a pair of shoes to replicate the cherished Italian linens that had been passed down to her by her grandmother. She sent me countless photos, each one with a story, and a recommendation on a place I must go if I ever made it to Italy. I created a pair of shoes that looked like they had been stitched with white embroidered detail, and Sue took them with her to the place they were inspired by. Now, when I set off to Italy this summer to study abroad, I have a detailed itinerary of all the best places I need to go. It's been a little over a year, or it's been almost a year and a half since I started Rundquist, and my shoes are currently being worn by hundreds of people across the world in places like Abu Dhabi, Sydney, Paris. As proud as I am to look at my business in terms of places and numbers, what's most amazing to me are the connections I've made with customers and the stories we've shared along the way. People have chosen to wear Rundquist shoes on some of the biggest days of their lives, weddings, engagements, to support their mother's fight with cancer, to honor loved ones, to celebrate milestones. With each one, I formed a relationship with the customer, talking about all the little details and the reasons behind them. I'm proud to say that I've received perfect 5-star reviews on every order from the very beginning. And in reading customers' feedback, it's clear to me that I'm doing more than just painting shoes. I'm creating special pieces of art that hold a truly special place in people's lives. And in that way, I feel like I've gotten to meet people from across the world and here in my community that I never would have been able to meet otherwise. Recently, I was speaking to a friend about different brands that have really distinct identities or personalities. And they asked me what the personality of Rundquist is. And my response was, well, it has my personality, whatever that is. Rundquist is really just an extension of myself and the things I'm passionate about. In fact, the name Rundquist is simply a combination of my first and last name. Now, I know that my entrepreneurial journey is far from over. In fact, I'm sure that this is very much the beginning. Recently, I've expanded to include all sorts of styles of canvas shoes, including flats, wedges, and boots, and soon I'll be introducing custom-painted totes and handbags as well. So to wrap things up, at the end of the day, I'm a junior in college who does college things and who was super nervous to come up here and talk to you guys. But if there's one thing that I hope you'll take from my story, it's that if I can accomplish my goals, so can you. In this social era we're living in, it's easier than ever to reach people, and the things we can do are incredible. As a network of entrepreneurs, we can keep reaching for our goals and pushing them to the next level together. Thank you. Thank you. I'd love to see if you guys have any questions or comments. You can buy the shoes on Etsy, or you can go to my website Rundquist.com, which is right there on the screen. I paint about a pair of shoes per day. So yeah, it fluctuates a little bit. Of course, like the holidays get really busy, but yeah.
And if you guys would come up to the microphone, that would be great.
Just raise your hand.
Lauren, what about your mentors? Several people are asking online about your mentors. How did you cultivate those relationships, and where did you find them?
Well, my mentors, I guess you would have to start with my family. Both of my grandparents, both of my grandpas on my mom's and dad's side started businesses from the ground up out of their garages, and have grew them into businesses for basically the rest of their lives. I have artists in my family, musicians. I was just always encouraged. My parents let me, take our kitchen bar stools and paint them, and they let me kind of just take apart our entire house. But then in the community, mentors like Sean Siebert, Greg Beer from the Entrepreneurship Alliance, I formed those relationships simply by reaching out, going to things like this. I was at this conference last year, which is when I actually met Sean Siebert and Brennan Bailey Stansberry. Little did I know I'd be speaking here today, but that's really how those relationships started.
Yeah, come on up, Sean. Speaking of Sean Siebert.
Can you tell everybody, Lauren, because you are the Boom Pitch Competition champion for 2013, what did that event do for you, and why should people get involved in pitch competitions?
Well, the reason that I did the pitch competition was really just because I knew it would be an awesome way to meet all these young individuals in the community who were doing just really great things with entrepreneurship. I had really high expectations for the day in terms of meeting people and forming those connections, not necessarily for my own performance in the competition. That honestly wasn't my main goal in coming, was to win. It was more just to have a valuable experience. I was so honored that the judges saw something in my pitch that day. And winning it has really just allowed me to take greater risks with my business. That's what's allowed me to expand to include all sorts of styles of canvas shoes. I could experiment, make investments that I normally wouldn't have been able to make on my own, expand to custom painted clutches and totes. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Any other questions for Lauren? Come on up.
I'm with 1 Million Cups. Could you come on a Wednesday morning and present at 1 Million Cups? We would love to have you.
I'd love to. I had class at that time last semester, so I was never able to make it. But this semester, I'm definitely going to be there. Thank you.
Yeah. Callaway County. You guys are from Callaway County, aren't you?
Hey, my name's Taylor, and I'm from Centralia High School.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Is there any custom design organizations that you kind of model yourself after that you kind of idolize?
No, when I started, I didn't really have a custom design organization, I guess. I was really inspired by Tom's and the way they have found to create a really distinct brand identity and to give back to the world around them, which is really their main focus, which is why a lot of my shoes are painted on canvas Tom's shoes. That's really how I started. So I would say any business that has found a unique way to give back is probably what I would say I'm inspired by.
I've got another question. What kinds of shoes do you design, and do you plan on expanding on those kinds of shoes?
I currently do canvas flats, wedges, and boots. Mainly canvas. I also paint on leather shoes. And so now I just actually started painting on high heels. I've been doing a lot of wedding designs for brides, custom shoes that they can wear with their dresses. And now I'm getting into other canvas accessories like tote bags, wallets, that type of thing.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name's Corey Hatley.
Hi.
I'm from Missouri S&T in Rolla. My question is, how do you see your business expanding? Obviously, right now it's kind of you tackling all the business, but do you ever
Right.
see yourself expanding that to other people? Or?
Sure. My vision for Lockwist in the future is to just be a brand of wearable art. So I would hope to be able to hire different artists who could really use it as a platform to get their work out there. I know that I sort of have a particular style of my painting, but I think it'd be really valuable to be able to create jobs for other artists who don't necessarily have the business know-how to create a platform to get their work out there. So that's what I would hope to do.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lauren.
Thank you.
Great, Lauren. Any other questions? One more over here. Going once. Going. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. It's all good. Yeah.
My name's Jacob Travis, and I'm from Ashland, Missouri, which is about 15 miles south of here. You said you started your event from the pitch event last year. Did you plan on before that being an entrepreneur, or as that event happened, did that kind of transpire and then you continued that, or did you start off going into that?
Well, when I did the pitch event last year, I had been in business for about 6 months. So at that time I knew that I had a business under my belt. But it took a while for me to realize that that's exactly what I was doing. Really, I was just doing what I loved. I mean, I love to paint. Like I said, I love to use my artistic ability to give back, to connect with others, and that's the best way I found to do it. And the fact that I was able to turn it into a business is just even more awesome. So, yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone.
Big round of applause. Lauren Rundquist, thanks so much.